romantic homicide stuck in my head. Oh yeah, remember David? Yeah, he's still going. It's not even like he's completely fallen off. Worthless is big-ish on TikTok. People know the song. Actually, no, I won't bother light on. You can see this, can't you? You can see me. For some people, that might be a bad thing. Ha ha ha, self-roast knee slapper. I probably shouldn't do that because I've got a bruise on that knee. Fun fact. Right. Yeah. Hang on. Why hello with there? Do you know what? Screw it. I know how weird this looks, but it's comfortable. Welcome to Music Reviews, the show where I review music for way too fucking long. I've got an itchy ear. Anyway, let's just get right into it, because I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 albums to listen to. And the bottom of the list, by far, is Quando Rondo's Recovery. Doesn't really feel like an album, really, with some of the themes of the songs that I noticed, but who cares? That's the norm these days. But yeah, boring album with terrible beats, and that Young Boy feature was horrendous, and that's coming, and that might even be one of his worst verses, and he's had some bad verses. Very little redeeming about the album, with bad performances too. Aside from the bottom, which is genuinely a really good song, and I am so confused why that is on the album, completely full of melodic trap garbage that doesn't do anything that literally every other melodic trap album in his sort of like his and YB's area of sort of melodic trap does. But yeah, terrible album. Glad it's over. 1.6. Actually, no, 1.7 out of 10. I'm nice. Next up is Owl City's Coco Moon, and what happened here? This guy was never amazing, but Fireflies is a good song, and very nostalgic for many. You would not believe your eyes. But yeah, nostalgic for many, including me, and production-wise, he can still make good music. Like, production-wise, this album had songs with potential. But what he can't do, and has never really been able to do, even at his peak, was write a decent song, as the lyricism is horrendous, and even I think I could do better, and I'm not a very good songwriter. Trust me, when I've tried to write songs, I look at them the next day and immediately question my sanity. Have you ever just wrote a song because you were bored, look back and realise how bad it was? To be fair, when you do that, you don't really spend more than like 5 minutes on them. But yeah, amongst this, there were also some songs that just didn't have potential at all, with My Muse, the closer, being by far the worst example of this. This would have been so much better with good lyricism, as the lyrics ruin so many of the songs. And a lot of the songs had potential to be good. Probably could have been like a 5 or a 6 without them, instead of a 2.8 out of 10, which is what the album is. Next up, Luke Combs is Getting Old. And yeah, never had so much potential wasted, as the sound isn't offensive. It's just the fact that every song is so formulaic and follows the same structure, and that it becomes a right pain in the arse and becomes a boring album. But like vocally and in terms of the background music, like I've always like not minded the actual like instrumentals and sometimes the vocals of country. Sometimes country vocals are horrendous, but like Luke Combs isn't an example of a really bad one. I don't really mind his vocals, but the lyrics, I've been pouring whiskey in a cup, which there was a lot of on this album, and the fact that every song seemed to follow the same goddamn structure apart from like 4 of them, and a lot of the 4 songs that didn't were actually decent. Change the structure, mate, in some of the songs. Give us a variety, because it gets boring after a while having the same structure for every single song. And yeah, both of those components are there most of the time, but when it's not, the album gives you very decent songs. Unfortunately, it's usually there. And yeah, quite sad that this album was bad, because it had potential. which is rare for me to say for a country album. 3.5 out of 10. Next up is O3 Greedo's Halfway There, and for a 33-track album, it's not actually that bad, to be honest. It has its moments, good and bad, but yeah, largely, albums like this are completely horrendous. This, though, largely a collection of just mid 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 4 out of 10 songs, instead of like the usually 1 out of 10s and 2 out of 10s you get for like half the album, because it starts turning boring after the 10th track. And while this did turn boring, it wasn't like boring, and there was definitely some interesting beats and good performances just splattered throughout. There was just a lot of mid, but yeah, don't want to listen to another huge album like this anytime soon. So yeah, can I please stop? But yeah, for an album like this, mostly 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 songs, which, trust me, is good. 5.5 out of 10. Next up is Hit Boy Surf or Drown, which could possibly be the most disappointing album all year. After a great album with Nas, KD3, from the end of last year, and a solid one with Musiq Soulchild from just a few weeks ago, I had high expectations going into it before I started listening. I don't know whether I said I'm expecting this to be a such and such and that rating to be high, but when I went into it, I thought, yeah, this could be really good. But what I was met with was mostly insanely boring trap beats, and amongst this, pretty poor and lazy sounding rap performances. However, there were some good songs, there were some good beats, but yeah, they were few and far between, and yeah. Had the odd interesting idea, but usually there were no interesting ideas to be found, basically. And there were some incredibly boring and bad tracks. But yeah, mid-album really let me down and didn't reach its full potential. 5.7 out of 10. Next up is Fall Out Boy's So Much for Stardust. Anthony Fantano gave it a 3. It's nowhere near a 3. For sure. Surprisingly, not a bad album. There were some really fun tracks, such as Love from the Other Side and I Am My Own Muse being the best examples of fun tracks on it, and I'm glad they at least partially went back to their roots. However, it doesn't do much different from any other pop punk album, and to be honest, if you told me this was a Panic at the Disco album from 20 years ago, and I didn't listen closely, because there are differences between him and Brendan Urie's voice, I would have believed you if it just had it as background music, for example. And yeah, I feel like I've also heard What a Time to Be Alive 57,000 times in different songs because of how uninteresting it is. Still, had some bangers and was mostly a decent enough listen and a slight return to form for a band that have been terrible of late. So, yeah, mostly good, had some bangers, but yeah, had some terrible songs in there. Overall, 6.5 out of 10, 6.5, because that's 6.5. Next up is Black Since I Love. That still annoys me. It's spelled 6LACK. It shouldn't be black. The instrumentals are decent throughout, but do get repetitive towards the end. The vocals were good, but he does stray off the instrumental sometimes. And yeah, the production, relatively inconsistent. All the things being said, there were some great songs. Most of the songs were great, really. And it was a good album. It was cohesive and not a bad return after 5 years for Black. Interesting album and one I enjoyed. Nice and relaxing. Could make good study music. Study music as in, that's a compliment. Yeah. 7.2 out of 10. Next up, Jay Skeezer's Abolish Uncertainties. Again, some songs were run-of-the-mill, just like in his collab album with Jay Skeez, and not hugely interesting, but even they still slap, because in this type of music, there are very few bad songs. Amongst this, there were also some great beats in large parts of the album that weren't boring, especially around the middle. Mixing-wise, it's amazing bar the first song, Revolver, which is actually mixed pretty poorly, especially towards the start of the song. I actually wrote in my notes, especially towards the song. Like, that narrows it down. The performances, though, were the best part of the album. Jay Skeezer's rapping was pinpoint, and the features were really good. brilliant performances throughout. Amongst this, the lyricism was mostly solid, aside from maybe one or two tracks. Fantastic album, and one everyone should try. But it's like not album of the year or anything. 8 out of 10. Next up is Depeche Mode's Memento Mori, which, yeah, did get boring in parts, and it did get predictable, especially around the middle. However, it did hit pretty often, and it hit when it hit. Lyrically, it was really good in parts, but also terrible at parts. What the fuck was Caroline's Monkey? And production-wise, amazing all round. Fantastic album, and one the late Andy Fletcher would look fondly on. Just a few moments that prevented it from being amazing. The best song was probably the closer of the album, that being Speak to Me. Speak to Me was a really good song. Never Let Me Go was another incredible song. Before We Drown was really good lyrically. And Wagging Tongue, another great song on this album. 8.1 out of 10. Next up, JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown's Scaring the Hose. Sods if it sound like a Tory saying the word hose. But yeah, didn't disappoint. The production was incredible 99% of the time. However, towards the end, for me, it did get slightly repetitive, despite its experimental nature. The performances were usually decent, even if they weren't all mixed properly, although apparently the mixing has been changed since I last listened to this album, so I will have to re-listen. I will re-listen, and I'll probably redux it and give it possibly a very, very high score. So, you'll just have to see about that. The Redfell feature was also kind of disappointing for me, but again, I am planning to re-listen, so that might grow on me. And I couldn't hear what Danny Brown was saying in 99% of the album, although again, the mixing's apparently been changed, so I might be able to hear him a bit better so I can listen. Or I might have just not been paying attention. We'll see, because I'm going to re-listen at some point. I know it was meant to be rough, but sometimes it was a bit too rough, that it kind of took away from the music. Still, really good album with some great songs, and one I recommend to most, even with, at least at the time of listening, it's huge flaws, but as I said, apparently the mixing has been fixed in a way to sound better. So, I will have to read this, and I will read this one, but for now, still doesn't miss, still great album, 8.4 out of 10, although it does have potential to be even higher. Next up is Lana Del Rey's Album of the Week. Did you know that there is a tunnel under Ocean? Did you know that there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? Maybe make your album title slightly shorter, Lana, so I can actually read them. What a start did this album have. The Grants, incredible song. A&W, probably my song of the year, potentially. Did you know that there was a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? Incredible, great ending. Judah Smith interlude, even with the story though, felt a bit dodgy. And in that sort of part of the album, there were a few kind of, I'm not going to say duds, but songs that weren't as good as some others. And some songs got repetitive and slightly predictable. However, there were still some songs that were on form. Grandfather, Please Stand on the Shoulders of My Father While He's Deep Sea Fishing. Weird title, great song. Peppers, not everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely my cup of tea because of how weird it is. I like weird music. And Taco Truck and VB, another great album closer. So yeah, some songs were repetitive. The interludes, some of the songs should have been put on different parts of the album to sound better. And yeah, but still, when it hit. And there were some incredible songs there. But yeah, start and the end, far better than the middle. Although, again, I'll probably re-listen to this one, as I might have been being a bit harsh with some songs that I deemed as predictable. Overall, I'm saying a 9.3 out of 10. So, yeah. And Breathe. Thankfully, not as many albums this week. And today is the only day. Only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7 albums this week. I'm going to shout out one I'm definitely not listening to. Autumn's Golden Child Chapter 3. 24 songs, 1 hour, 7 minutes. Can't be bothered with it. Although, from what I've heard, it sounds good. And it's in the middle of a series. I don't listen to albums if they're in the middle of a series because I just feel weird doing so. Although I do need to listen to Lil Pump because I do want to listen to Lil Pump too to see how bad it is. Because what I've heard from it is bad. And I want to know, how bad it gets. But yeah, Autumn, shout out to him. I'll probably have to start listening to him at some point, but maybe if he enters the mainstream more, or just releases an album not in the middle of the series, I'll start listening to him. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 to 7 albums that I will listen to. Starting off with Boy Genius's The Record. 12 songs, 42 minutes long. Shout out to them. Phoebe Bridgers is in this. Cannot wait for this one. I'm going to listen to it tonight. And I could be listening to it while this is premiering. But then, yeah, I'm going to say this is going to be at least an 8. At least an 8. Next up, Melanie Martinez's Portals. 13 songs, 51 minutes long. From what I've heard, there's some bad songs, but there's also some pretty decent ones. So, don't know what to expect. Gonna say a 6, but it could be much higher and much lower. DJ Drama's also dropped Ondale, which features every rapper ever. It features Tyler the Creator, Lil Baby, Boogie with a Hoodie, Jeezy, Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, Blast, Lil Wayne, Roddy Ricch, Gucci Mane, Lil Wayne, Roddy Ricch, Gucci Mane in a single song as well, Lil Uzi Vert, 42 Dugg in a single song, Rick Ross, Westside Gunn and Lul in a single song, Mozzie, G Herbo, Vori in one song, next song, Wiz Khalifa, T.I., Simba, what a song that could be, Jack Harlow in the next one, Fabulous, Benny the Butcher, and Jim Jones, as well as Capella Gray. Don't know who the last two are, but cool. Moneybagg Yo and Offset, Boozy Badass, OMB Peasy, In Trouble, Jeezy again, Sci-Hi, La Russell, and Carvina. He literally got every artist ever. 14 songs, 45 minutes long. Definitely going to be some good ones, but with an album with a bazillion, jillion, gazillion features, it's never going to be amazing. So I'm going to say it's a 6. And now for the album I've already listened to, Chloe's and Pieces, featuring Chris Brown, Missy Elliott, and Future. Not going to spoil anything, but what I will say is that it's one I'd recommend. Although sometimes I recommend albums for how bad they are, so that doesn't narrow it down. Next up is Larry June's on The Alchemist's The Great Escape, featuring Action Bronson, Big Sean, Ty Dolla $ign, Slum Village, Boldy James, Evidence, Wiz Khalifa again, Jay Worthy, Joey Badass, Currency, and that's it. But a Joey Badass feature, 2 Wiz Khalifa features in a single week. 15 songs, 45 minutes long, produced by The Alchemist, just to remind you, a legendary producer. This could be really, really good. I'm going to say an 8. Next up is an EP by Powfu, Tell Me Your Feelings, and I Won't Tell You Mine Part 2. 5 songs, 40 minutes long. Do you know what? Screw this EP. Because, you know me, I don't listen to albums or EPs in the middle of a series. I'm actually not going to listen to this one, which is probably for the best, because he made that bloody Eyes Blue Like the Atlantic song, and he also made that, I think he made that Coffee song. Yeah, so maybe it's a good thing, really, that I'm not going to listen to this, because I'm sick of that song. It's not a bad song, but I'm sick of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 now. And a potential album is, I think, Logic and C. Castro releasing a collab EP. But if it comes up as a single here, I'm not going to listen to it. So I might listen to that. Shout out that. Not even going to put a picture up for that one. Actually, I might. We'll see. I'll see if I can find one. So there you go. Larry June could be a potential album of the year. I do not know what to expect from this week. All I know is that there are going to be some good albums, surely. And this could be one of the best weeks of the year in terms of quality. But yeah, also some potential duds, as there always are. Quick thing, of course, shout out to Tyler the Creator with the deluxe album, The Estate Sale. Sorry Not Sorry is an incredible track, but I don't review deluxes. Soz. So, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for watching. That's the end of the show. And I will see you in the next other show. In the bit. One last thing, I'm not actually counting Lil Pump's EP as the worst album of worst album / EP of February, because all of the songs on that EP is on Lil Pump too. So yeah, it's that Russ Millions album with the 3.6. That's the worst of February now, as I said in the video. That of the top 3 worst albums of Feb. All right, see ya.